Now we're going to talk about my own anaphylaxis situation that happened. So it was 2021. I had just worked my 12-hour shift at the hospital in South Lake Tahoe. And I came home, ate dinner, watched some Law and Order, and I went to bed. And I was laying in bed reading a magazine, kind of getting ready to drift off to sleep, go back and do it the next day. And as I was reading the book or the magazine, whatever, I started to notice that I was kind of like itchy in different locations of my body. So I took a second and I put the magazine down on my torso and took inventory of my body. Now, what I felt at that time was itchy all over. And I didn't notice any rash or anything, but itchy all over. And I noticed my lips were tingling. And I was like, oh man. Now, I had never had anaphylaxis before. I had certainly had allergic reactions to things, laundry detergent, bee stings, things like that. But I never had anaphylaxis. But being a 15-year ER nurse, I certainly knew what anaphylaxis looked like. So I walked to the bathroom and I took a look at myself. And I watched myself go from that face to that face in about 10 minutes of time. So you can see me swelling like crazy all around my eyes, my nose, my cheeks, my lips. On the inside, I was swollen as well in my mouth and my throat. My swallowing at that point, when I swallowed, I wasn't drooling or anything like that. I could swallow, but it was like this. I had to really force swallow it. So I was quite swollen. Um, I called my best friend who's also an ER nurse and I was like, hey, and he said, hey, why are you calling me this late? And I was like, well, I think I'm in anaphylaxis. And he was like, what? So I took this selfie and I sent it to him and he was like, as you might imagine, what the hell? Like, why are you calling me? Call 911. Well, a couple things here. I took this picture to send it to him, and I never thought I would be teaching with it for the rest of my career. But I'm glad that I have it, obviously. But I'm a nurse, and nurses are a real pain in the ass. And there was no way I was calling 911. I decided to drive myself into the hospital, which my friend tried to talk me out of, and I didn't listen. So I took 2 Benadryl, which makes sense. I didn't have any epinephrine because I didn't ever have this sort of reaction before. So I took 2 Benadryl and I hopped in my car. Now, Benadryl is a sedative, and driving while under the influence of a sedative, such as Benadryl, is technically driving under the influence. So while Benadryl is not going to make me super sleepy in the first 20 minutes of taking a normal dose, it is still driving under the influence. So I do not recommend this. This story has many things about what not to do, by the way. Okay, so I drive across town. I call the ER. I tell them, hey, I'm coming in. Now, remember, these are my friends. I just clocked out of work a couple hours ago. And they're like, what are you even talking about? You're coming in with anaphylaxis. I'm like, I'm not kidding. Shoot them this picture. They're like, crap. Okay. So when I pull up to the ER, I walk in. I just go right to the trauma bay, put my arms out, lay on the gurney, and they started to take care of me. As I was driving across town, my symptoms actually were starting to get worse. My swallowing didn't so much get worse, but I didn't have any wheezing. But what was getting worse was itching. My whole body was so unbelievably itchy, and the palms of my hands were the most uncomfortable thing I may have ever experienced in my life, still to this day. Unbelievably itchy. Now, what I did tell you earlier in the previous segments was that Benadryl was for the itchy, the skin reaction of allergic reactions or anaphylaxis. It did absolutely nothing in those first 20 minutes for my itching. So I get to the ER. The very first thing they do is put IVs in, and then they give me epinephrine. Now, at this point, here's me driving in, what I look like. Also, don't take selfies of yourself while you're driving in with anaphylaxis after you've had some sedatives. Right. So don't do any of these things. So my dumbass driving across town. Okay, so here I get to the ER, and they give me epinephrine sub-Q. Now, back in that time period, epinephrine for anaphylaxis was given sub-Q into the fat tissue. Right around 2011, a study came out that said it was better absorbed through the thighs. So we switched then to IM. And over time, the dose has gone from zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.5 for adults. So at that point, they were doing the right thing. Now, they gave me the epinephrine, and then they gave me 50 milligrams of IV Benadryl. Now, if you recall, I already took IV Benadryl about 20 minutes prior or a half hour prior. So I don't recall if they asked me if I took Benadryl, but I'm not sure. In any case, I was double dosed on Benadryl. Now, it's not the worst thing in the world, but it is double dose of sedatives. There's no reason to double dose Benadryl in this situation. So they gave me the medications. They also gave me some steroids that helps decrease the chance of the allergic reaction or the allergen starting the histamine reaction back up after these meds wear off. But it doesn't really treat it right now. It prevents for later on. So I get all that. I'm hanging out, and still I'm itchy. Still I'm swollen. You can see my swelling starting to change. Still I'm having trouble swallowing. So they kept me in the ER. And then after an hour and a half, they gave me my second dose of Benadryl. If you recall in the earlier segments about anaphylaxis, I say over and over the reason people die from anaphylaxis is because the medical providers are not giving epinephrine soon enough and repeatedly. Okay, so I should have had another dose of Benadryl in about 10, 15 minutes after that first dose if I was still quite swollen, and I certainly was having airway stuff, not being able to swallow right. So, in whatever case, they waited. And again, nothing bad would happen to me had I gotten, quote, too much epinephrine. So, please repeat it in 10 minutes if needed. So, finally, they give me the second dose, and now I'm able to swallow. And here's what my face looks like at that point. Now, I also want to say that at this point in my career, I was just an ER nurse. I was not an educator. I did not nerd out on these topics like I do now. And I did not know enough about epinephrine and why people die in anaphylaxis without proper treatment, and that epi should be repeated, really should be repeated every 10 to 15 minutes as needed. I didn't know enough about that to advocate for myself. So at any point in time in there, I could have had a full-blown loss of my airway, in which case they would have had to intubate me or, God forbid, put a crike in me, a hole in my throat because I swelled too much here and they couldn't put the tube in. So now I know better, do better, right? Okay, so now they watch me again for another couple, like another hour and a half, and then they let me go home. So they discharged me to drive home across town to my apartment where I live by myself. I had 100 milligrams of Benadryl in me, so a double dose of sedative. I had 2 doses of epinephrine in me, so an upper, and I had an anaphylactic situation going on within my body. Um, None of these things are good, right? So I drive across town, I go to sleep. Thank God nothing happens to me, but I certainly was in a position where you can have a rebound reaction and those antigens start back up, in which case I was living by myself. Maybe I wouldn't even have known it would have happened so fast. So this is a good example of what not to do. And I also tell this story because the doctor who was taking care of me was a friend of mine. He was a coworker and a friend, and he was doing the right thing. But when we at the moment, he was doing what he thought was right. But when we take care of somebody who we really care about, our prefrontal cortex, which is the thinking, rational, decision-making part of our brain, it kind of shuts down because we're taken over by emotion that's involved in this, whether it's a friend, family member, high profile situation. Our amygdala, which is in our limbic system in the middle of the brain, that's really emotionally driven. And so sometimes we're making more decisions from the emotional side than the prefrontal cortex. And so if you are in a position where you need to take care of somebody that you know and love, please be so careful. Use the discernment and the guidance of other people. Have someone else's brain listen to what you're saying. Take the time to slow down, really think through, use resources, even if you do this all the time. Because when we're taking care of people that we love, or there's emotional component, we just might not be making the right decisions. So luckily, everything turned out for me just fine. What we decided that I'm allergic to is minocycline, an antibiotic that I had taken that evening just before going to bed, about 10 minutes before all of the symptoms started. I had taken an antibiotic for some cystic acne that I had at the time. This antibiotic was an as needed antibiotic, minocycline, and you just took it when the acne was flaring up. This was the second time I had taken that medication, or maybe the third time, and I had this full blown reaction. I had zero symptoms the first 1 or 2 times that I had taken it. So now minocycline is an anaphylactic allergy for me. I carry epinephrine with me. I don't take any medications that are similar to minocycline. And And that's my story. So I hope you enjoyed it. The beautiful pictures of me. I say jokingly that those are my Tinder profile pictures, and I can't imagine why I'm still single. So, anyways, thanks so much, and have a great day.